He's CEO of one of the largest banks in the world, and Jamie Dimon of JP Chase has plenty to say about the economy, the incoming administration, and the future of work in America. He's talking with our 60 Minutes colleague, Leslie Stahl.
Were you surprised that Donald Trump won the election?
No.
Why do you think he won?
People were angry at the what they call it, the state, the swamp, ineffective government, that people wanted kind of more pro-growth and pro-business policies, that they didn't want to be lectured to on social policies continuously. I think it's the lecturing part of it. It's the social superiority, it's the my way or the highway. I traveled around this country. I felt it wherever I went.
There's a sense of gloom out there about the economy. Do you understand that?
I do understand it because I think there are a lot of legitimate concerns that Americans have. For example, ineffective government, they're angry about it. They're angry about immigration. There are people with legitimate issues.
Despite lower unemployment, a calming of inflation, and a soaring stock market, even he says he's, quote, cautiously pessimistic about the economy. And as chairman and CEO of the largest bank in America, it matters what Jamie Dimon has to say about things. Listen to him on Bitcoin.
You have called Bitcoin a Ponzi scheme. You've said that it's as useless as a pet rock. What do you really think?
You're going to have some kind of digital currency at one point. So I'm not against crypto. Bitcoin itself has no intrinsic value. It's used heavily by sex traffickers, money launderers, ransomware. So I just don't feel great about Bitcoin. I applaud your ability to want to buy or sell it. Just like I think you have the right to smoke, but I don't think you should smoke.
Since he took charge of the bank 20 years ago, the company has doubled its number of employees to 320,000 and grown its assets by nearly $3 trillion, which probably would surprise his grandparents, who came to the U.S. with little money from Greece in the early 1900s.
The neighborhood was like this block.
He took us to his old middle-class neighborhood in Queens, New York.
Which is your window?
We were on the top. The
penthouse.
It was a rental, I think. We were up that corner up there.
He shared one bedroom with his two brothers, and they played outside on the monkey bars.
I broke my arm in those monkey bars over there.
Did you ever dream when you were growing up in a million years that you'd be running one of the biggest banks in the world?
No. My dad was a stockbroker, so I was somewhat conscious of that part of the world, but I had never met a CEO until I was in college or something like that.
He grew up to be one of the most successful CEOs in the country, processing $10 trillion a day. His bank is thriving and healthy. But Dimon, now 68, has had two major health scares. The first was throat cancer a decade ago.
You are now, can we say cured?
Yes.
That's
well, at least in
word.
remission, yeah. But I know a little bit more. People who've been told they have cancer know a little bit more than other people. That's staring you right in the face, and it may actually happen. You become a little more deliberate, a little more thoughtful. You don't want to have regrets.
But you also had a heart scare.
Yeah.
It happened at the beginning of COVID in March 2020.
My heart, the pain was extraordinary. I thought I heard it rip.
Was it a heart attack? What
it was
an
aortic dissection.
What is it?
I had a tear in the aorta here.
Oh my God. Did they tell you you might not make it?
Yeah.
They did?
Yeah, I knew that, by the way, yes.
Going in for surgery, at least you think in your mind, I've lived the life I should have lived so far.
Yeah, not enough of it, but yeah.
How long were you on the table?
7 or 8 hours.
Were you surprised when you woke up?
The doctor told me I was one of the only people he's ever seen wake up immediately after surgery like that. I waved at my kids, who probably I've been sitting there the whole time. And then I was back asleep in the ICU waking up in ICU, like when you're a man who's never had to rely on other people, really, and all of a sudden you have tubes everywhere and you can't do anything yourself, and you got tubes in your heart and tubes in your lungs and tubes down your jugular.
He was in the hospital for a week, back at work a month later, and soon traveling the world, which he does, he says, 40% of his time. We met him in the executive suite on the 43rd floor of the bank's Manhattan headquarters.
If you have binoculars, you might be able to see the actual building that you and I walk by in Jackson Heights, Queens.
He can see where he grew up, and to the left, the nearly twice as high, dazzling new J.P. Morgan headquarters going up next door. It'll be one of the biggest office buildings in New York.
I cannot see the top
So this
of that
building, much taller than Empire State Building, probably equal to the Freedom Tower.
With all the big things he deals with, it's interesting that one of the things he's most proud of is opening branches in lower income and underserved communities around the country, like this one in Harlem.
I was the firm's first ever community manager.
Yeah. And we learned a lot from you.
Yes,
yeah.
you did.
They still come in.
They do.
People, I always say people like to visit their money. They visit their money. You know, mortgage documentation is really hard to do. So in one of these community branches, a guy stood up and he said, fine, bought a home they lived in for 30 years. He said there's no way he could have gotten that mortgage if one of our mortgage loan officers didn't call him every day for months, taking him through it, making him feel comfortable, getting the forms. He got our homeowners grant, and it works.
We're celebrating 5 great years in Harlem this morning.
This isn't a not-for-profit. These local branches make money for the bank.
Well, the owner, hey, how are you?
But what about the other end of the spectrum?
A lot of Americans have gotten very rich. They've gotten filthy rich. We've had unbelievable numbers of billionaires come up. Billionaires. Why? What's out of whack here?
I think you have to be very careful to say what's out of whack. You want a healthy economy, and a really healthy economy lifts up all citizens. You want to help all Americans grow the economy. You can well at the moon, that's not going to grow the economy. And if there are unfair things that created some of that wealth, they should be fixed.
But I'm not hearing you say there's something wrong here, that these billionaires are growing like poppy. And I mean, what is it, the tax laws?
If I was king for a day, I would probably change a bunch of the tax laws too, which I'm not going to give you specifics on. It won't reduce it as much as you seem to think it should be reduced.
No, but I'm interested that you're not saying this is wrong, this is not working.
I think the wrong part is that the bottom 30% didn't do better, not that the top 0.1% did so well.
Why not? What's wrong with saying that?
Because they may be unrelated. What we need to do to fix it for everybody, healthcare.
But you haven't said what's wrong at the other end.
I don't know which one's the other end.
Dimon himself is a billionaire. We asked him about the richest person in the world, Elon Musk.
He is the man of the hour. What's going on there?
He's clearly an extraordinary talent. I mean, to look at Tesla and SpaceX, and my attitude is, yeah, well, we should make government more efficient. And is this the way to do it? I don't know. Do I want them to succeed? Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's odd to have a man who's so wealthy, with so many important companies that matter to our economy and even to our national security, now sort of insinuating that he can influence right-wing politics in Europe.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound right,
I'm
does
not
it?
responsible for his behavior, so let him do it. But when you say it's odd, it's not that odd. It's been going in this country for a long time. If you go back to Lindbergh, there's been more interfering across Atlantic politics than you would think.
Are you distressed by it?
No.
Take it in stride.
Take it in stride.
Somebody called him an oligarch, an American oligarch.
Yeah, that's name calling.
Jamie Dimon has been in banking for more than 40 years, which leads to the inevitable question,
When's Jamie going to retire?
Last time I was asked, I said less than 5 years. But when you
4.5?
when you say retire, I'm not going to retire like that. I may write a book, I may teach, I may work with my kids if they want. I would never pressure them to work with me, but
I didn't hear you say, I might become chairman and, just give up the CEO part.
well, that's likely. That's likely to happen. Again, that is up to the board, not up to me. But if it makes sense, I may be chairman for a couple of years.
Do you know who your successor is?
No.
You must love your job.
Yeah, I do. I love my
lot.
job. I love what it does. I like our people, and it motivates me. Like a lot of people, by Friday, I'm exhausted. I want to go home. I want to have my martini and go to sleep. But I do love my job. I think it's great to have a purpose in life and to, paint your Picasso.